you have this one on? Okay. I think we'll get started. Um, Want to welcome everybody. This is a great crowd, and Kasey and Nate are. What? I'm sorry. Oh, okay. um, I just did everyone sign in? I do have a couple of things to draw at the end of the meeting. So I'll get started. Welcome to everyone. At the April board meeting, the officers were elected. So you have us again. I will be your president. Brock Flowers is the vice president and the communications coordinator. Gary Horvath is the treasurer, and Missy Hansen is the secretary and also the coordinator for the maintenance committee. The other coordinators, Randy Arnold remains the volunteer coordinator and organizes Pheasants Forever. Rainbow Berry is the trout in the classroom and bugs in the classroom coordinator. Matt Jancourt does the River Falls Fly Fishing Clinic, and Ken Hansen and Greg Olson are continuing with the annual winter auction. And Ken remains the webmaster, and Ed Constantini is the riprap editor. I want to thank everybody for your contributions during our fundraisers and for the volunteer hours. It's been a really good year. We did raise $8,290 for the Hapluder Memorial, and a combined for the 3x100 chances and the online auction, it was 15,280. So that was a good fundraising year. And then I also want to thank everyone for all of the volunteer hours on the variety of programs. I mean, we've got conservation and habitat projects. Randy didn't have as many projects other than, I think it was one, right, Randy? Pretty much during the winter. So the hours were somewhat limited this year, but I think we'll have others for next year. Stream monitoring continues in our youth education programs. We do have trout in the classroom and bugs in the classroom, and the releases are still occurring yet this month. Rainbow, I think I saw her walk in. You need any more volunteers? Okay. So I think you have an online sign-up sheet. Am I correct? Okay. So we still need volunteers for that. Stream Girls will be September 17th at the Ellsworth Rod and Gun Club. I'm sorry. What did I say, April? Oh, September. Oh my God. May 17th. I have it on my notes. At the Ellsworth Rod and Gun Club. I think you have 15 girls. No volunteers are needed. So that's the largest group I think we've had. And then the River Falls Fly Fishing Clinic will be September 7th, and Matt Jancourt is, June. Why have I got a blank on September? Because I'm going to Idaho. June 7th, and you will be sending out for volunteers, right? We can donate flies from the bucket that's upstairs, right? Okay, great. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. He picked up all those flies from Bob Trevis about a year ago. I haven't been to the upper room, so I'm not sure what to say. But anyway, September events. Dave Drewski was going to be here, but he's at a board meeting. They called one for the Rod and Gun Club. But he will be asking them if we could use the Rod and Gun Club on either June 24th or June 25th. The silver solstice is June 21st, and that's a weekend. And so it's preferably during the week if we're going to have a summer outing. And then Phil and Kay invited us to their place on August 21st. And both of these we'll put out in e-news, so you get the details. Right? Okay. And then finally, I would like to go over our goals that we set for last year, through the course of this year. And the first one was the restoration of the South Fork of the Kinney. The chapter has paid $14,462 for equipment rental for the DNR to remove the willows, rock for the arrow structures, and the herbicide application for this year. Missy had a maintenance committee meeting with Nate and Kasey and the members to discuss the plans for the following year. That will be brought to the board because we need to discuss not only the plan but review the funding process for that. And I will give Nate the opportunity in his presentation to actually share how the DNR plans to stage the project and kind of staging that process with us. You did recruit 4 new members for the maintenance committee with, pardon? Randy. Oh, Randy did. Thank you, Randy. Jeff Jackson, Steve Cox, Jeff Dahl, and Dave Gregg. Very good. Expanded business. Stream monitoring, Kent and Johnson and Clark Gary are doing the 3rd year of their study and of the 3-year study, and the chapter will fund that, totally. And then WISE H2O monitoring and temperature monitoring is coordinated by John Kaplan, and there's, I think, 8 members that actually do the WISE H2O on the streams from April through October. And then the internship program, which I'm very glad to let you know that we have it in place. The goal was to set up a 3-year program. It's the contract is between UW-Scout and the DNR. We're the funder, and so they have signed the contract. We sent $5,700 and I think $75, roughly around that amount. And that was the amount calculated for 320 hours of a student. And that student has been picked. I believe he's a sophomore going into his junior year at UW-Scout. And he will start with Kasey on the 19th of this month. So this is really great. Really, the goal is to, we funded it, it set aside $6,000 times 3 years, but I'm going to reach out to add other funds to come in to offset our costs so that we're not paying $6,000 every year. We signed on for a 3-year agreement, but I think what we really want to be able to do is kind of solidify this program that is an ongoing program beyond that, with funding that we can tap into and set aside for the program. And the reason I say that is the individual that helped me get this off the ground in September is from Dodgeville. He's the Fisheries Biologist from Dodgeville. UW-Platteville has had it for 15 years, and they've sponsored that program for interns. And I did really, and when I went to the council banquet, talked to Sarah Strassman and Kim McCarthy, and they're very supportive of any chapter who wants to be able to support the LTEs for the work with the DNR. So that was one of those things that I is near and dear to my heart. But any questions from the floor? Yes. Can't you hear me? Oh. I'm done. Anything that you need to know that I didn't speak up with? I know I have to project better. Anything else? All right. All right, then I would like to introduce Nate, our habitat specialist, and he will present with the overview of stream habitat improvement projects and the future projects. And Kasey, Senior Fisheries Biologist, and she will give the results of the fish surveys that were done in the summer of 2024. Thank you.
All right, thanks for having me. Can you hear me? Lots of microphones for a small little room. Anyways, my name's Nate Anderson. If you don't know who I am, I'm the habitat specialist out of the Eau Claire DNR office. I've been coming to a lot of these meetings. The May meeting, I really enjoy it. It's probably my favorite talk for the year. Got lots of familiar faces, but I'm pretty sure today's the nicest day I've ever had coming over here. So what I'm going to here, where do I point? Okay. So I'm just, So I'm going to just do a recap of what we did last field season. Talk about the South Fork of the Kinney. Talk about the 2025 projects, and then the mowing areas that we're going to mow. A little bit about the state budget and the new easements that we have. So our first project last year was Parker Creek. Parker Creek is just northeast of town here. It's a multi-year project. As you can see, it's the green little dot. Gotcha. Oops. Perfect. The picture's upside down too. I want the pointer. Oops. Oh, there we go. Okay. And I think, yeah, that's right. Can I go back? One more. Okay, we got it. So right here, the green little dot, Pleasant Avenue and Highway J. This was a multi-year project. Are you do it? Okay. We started May 8th this year and completed by July 1st. So we had a lot of work done already last fall. We graded the banks, removed all the trees. So we were able to complete, just under 6,600 feet. Few of the typical habitat projects that we installed in this section were the boulder clusters. We were able to put in 3 Euro structures. I haven't seen Lauren. Is he here yet? No. 3 islands, 13 spawning riffles, 78 root wads, 7 rock de-weirs, 19 deep water pools. So it was a long section. We hauled in 7,000 tons of rock, and the rock cost $15.12 a ton, which came out to over $100,000 in rock. So as you can see, as we go through here, why we kind of work in certain areas. So this project cost was $172,000 at $51 a foot, which is on the very high end of projects. Yes. So the question was why is it so high, and how many feet have we completed? I can answer one out of the 2 questions. The rock is high because of location. There's not a lot of quarries close to the metro. They're going to jack up the prices. And how many feet we've accomplished? No idea. It goes upstream of where we completed, through Dave Phillips's, all the way up to Highway J, and then across Highway J. So it's a long section. Okay. Yes. That's a bird. That's That's a burn. So the question was, would we save money if we put in less root wads? And the answer to that question is no. Root wads do not cost us a damn thing. So sorry, Tom. I'm getting the feeling a lot of people don't like root wads, which. Okay, so this is a section of Parker Creek. So you guys hear me all the time with this microphone? Because sometimes I hear myself, sometimes we're good? Okay. So this is a section, this is Pleasant Avenue, this is a downstream end. We were able to complete the multi-year project. We were able to complete all of that section. It's a fee title land, it's public land, it's open to hunting, trapping, everything. It's gonna be a really nice piece of property. And apparently when I transferred the slides over today, some of the pictures didn't go as planned, so you have to turn your head sideways to see what it looks like now. But as you can see, it's pretty much a typical project that we always do. There was pretty high banks, it was super wide, there was no habitat, a lot of fine sediment, so we graded the banks, narrowed it up some, and then put in the habitat. Okay. And here's just some more photos before and after. This is from the Pleasant Avenue Bridge. Shortly after the project, it's actually, the grass really got established pretty good. And you can't see because it's sideways, but there's a pretty good angler path already this spring. So obviously people are using it, and that's what we want. Yes. That's a question for Kasey. I think when we first started, it was 50-50, and now it's probably mostly browns. She's shaking her head, yes. So the question was, is that mostly brown trout? Okay. Man, this sucks. They work on here. Can you guys see it here? So anyway, so yeah, just showing befores and afters. Hopefully they're not all like this. We can go through it. Keep going. Yeah, they're all going to be like that. We could just hook it up to, can he hook it up to here or no? Probably not. Okay. All right, well, most of you in here have probably seen enough of the befores and afters anyways. You get the idea. Yes? Correct. So the question is, I was told to repeat the question so people online can hear it, is she was not sure where the fee title property ends and the downstream easement on the pilot. And so it should be signed, and it should have the white and green signs with the public fishing. Where we stop the habitat work, it does continue a little bit further down the fee title, but then it continues into an easement. To J. Yep. Correct. Okay, on to the next one. So our second project of the year was the Plum Creek project on the Martin easement. This is just south of Plum City on Highway O. And just upstream of the Von Holton easement. Right here it is. So Plum City, here is our project site. This is the Von Holton that most people know about. Okay. All right, we got a picture the right way. So we were able to complete just under 2,700 feet. We put in the boulder clusters, Euros, islands, spawning riffles, root wads, and 3 backwater refuges as well here. We use 5,600 tons, and as you can see, $6.40 a ton. So that's cheap, and that's kind of why in the past 3, 4, 5 years now we've been working on down on Plum Creek because of the cost of the rock. It's really cheap. There's 2 contractors there that have their own quarries. They don't have to truck them in very far, so they compete with each other. And we're able to install a new parking lot right on Highway O to get you guys off the road safely to park. And that project cost was just under $100,000, and it came out to $15.22 a foot. So when we decide in the spring or fall, when we meet with Kiap-TU-Wish board on when and where we're going to do projects, these type of things come up of, you know, why we want to do work on Plum Creek versus the Kinney. Okay. So yeah, this was just another one. 7 to 10 foot high banks, crazy wide. We tried not to narrow it up as much as we have in the past, but we also, you know, wanted to create that bigger fish, bigger deep water, knowing that it's going to be mostly browns as well. We did try to, you know, put the island complexes in, so we're still trying to create spawning riffles, young of the year habitat. Okay. So just a few befores and afters so you get the idea. Okay. Because then the fine sediment deposits into it. It doesn't keep the habitat. Sorry, the question is why do we not keep it wide? A few different reasons is it doesn't flush out to sand and silt, so then it covers up any of the decent cobble that is there, warms up faster, and any of the habitat features get buried in the sand. Correct, because you lose that velocity and it just dumps out. But then if we just narrow it up, the whole thing, then it becomes like a deep, long run, which is great for adult habitat, but then, you know, you don't have any young of the year, you know, spawning habitat. Okay, next one is the Kinney Moody easement. That is right here in town. I used the wrong colors, obviously. You can't see anything, but it's right on, I think it's Division Street, and it turns into Highway M. Okay. This was our last project of the year. We started the end of August and we're done by the end of September. This was a one bank project, which we typically don't do, but because of the location of it, we really wanted to do this project. We were limited to how much habitat we could put in because we were only working on one side. We didn't want to kick the current over to the other side to create that erosion, you know, even faster on that side. But we used 4,300 tons of rock at $15 a ton, and it came out to just over $100,000 at $56 a foot. Granted, there was a house on this property, or there is a house on this property with a very high bank, and we used a crap load of rock to protect that house. Okay, this is just a zoomed in area. Here's the project site. This is the access, is right off the bridge, off of M or Division Street, and I just threw in this Powell Avenue. Powell Avenue, thank you, Andy. And then this is a 1936 photo just for comparison. It's still somewhat fairly close, but less houses. Okay. So this is the house on the site. The downstream part of the project has beautiful big bur oaks. And then as you go up higher, there's more cottonwoods and black walnut. Okay. Then there was also one great big maple that was in between the house and the river, and we couldn't even get equipment in there. It was leaning over the house. We paid a contractor to come in and cut that down. But we basically rocked from the stream edge all the way up to the house. And there's one little section, okay, go ahead. One little section that we were able to get both sides done. This landowner was able to sign up for an easement as well, so we did his bank as well. This was a straight vertical eroding bank, and we were able to rock both sides. So this house here is like more of the upstream part of the property across the river, up on the hill. They have an easement, but it's not the Moody easement. It's like 200 feet or something like that. When we first started the project, I sent out a bunch of letters to the adjacent landowners explaining what was going on and if they were interested in any habitat work as well. And few people have it didn't get through in time for us to do the work. Okay. So for last field season, we were able to complete just under 8,800 feet, which is 1.66 miles at a cost of $412,000. So it's a pretty good year, probably average year. Okay. So then we were able to spend some time doing some upland work for the South Fork of the Kinney. This was kind of the, what did Scott call it, the golden nest, or Susan called it the golden nugget or something like that. But we've kind of decided to stick time and effort into this project and money. Last fall, Lauren gave us kind of the dimensions of rock that he needs to build some Euro structures, and Haas Trucking out of Thorpe was able to find some, and Kiap-TU-Wish bought the rock at a cost of $8,200, so thank you guys. And then, yes. And then late last fall, we hired Floor Control out of Menominee to come in and spray the site. So the background, if you're unfamiliar with it, is we did habitat work in the early 2000s, and the site has basically become unfishable because of all the willows. And Lauren, designed these Euro structures. They're structures that create some brook trout habitat that we can put in to flush out all the sand that is still coming down through the system. And they're working, they're holding fish. So Kiap-TU-Wish and DNR decided, hey, let's do more of this. So the plan is to, one, control this woody vegetation first. So Floor Control sprayed everything. There was a few spots that they couldn't because of the larger trees, wet site, but that was a cost of just over $8,000, and Pheasants Forever threw in $5,000, and Kiap-TU-Wish paid the remaining. And then also Kiap-TU-Wish donated $5,000 to the DNR gift account, which allowed us to do some equipment work. And so Josh and Nick, our crew, was able to go over there and spend 70 hours on the machines at a cost of just under $12,000. And so Kiap-TU-Wish paid for $5,000, and DNR paid for just under $7,000 to get that completed. So this is a bonus project that we did not work plan for, so that's why we're needing to come up with some funds for this project. Yes. Yes. So have we identified the sand sources in the South Fork? And we have, with not a lot of success. It's all coming from the ravines up in the uplands. Don Fritz spent a lot of time. He was a conservationist for Pierce County, and he talked to a lot of landowners, trying to get them on board to stop that stuff, in the headwaters, up on top. A few landowners signed up, but it just, there's so much sand coming through there that until we stop that upper end, it's still going to come. So these habitat features is just helping that stuff flush out. And Scott had a comment? It's pretty amazing. Was that when you were president, Scott? When I think it was 2008. Does that sound right? Or maybe not that long ago, but there was a large rain event that happened, and Pierce County got a bunch of groups together, and we went and toured some of these sites, and it's absolutely mind-boggling how much sediment is coming down through these sources. Crazy. But yes, anyways, let's move forward. So here are a few pictures. This is Saddle Club Road, the very upper part of our fee title at the South Fork. As you know, we didn't have a lot of runoff this spring. We didn't have a lot of snow. And this is all fresh sediment that got deposited on the banks just from last fall and the spring. And when we actually did this project, the original project, I made a sand trap just downstream of this bridge. So knowing that we're going to have a lot of sand, we could come in with excavators and dump trucks and dig the sand trap out yearly. And we found out that the more we dug, the faster it came. And it was a losing battle. Okay. And here's just some more. I mean, I was pretty amazed at how much sediment actually came down through here this spring when we had basically zero runoff. And this is the site. So this is, you can see the shed. And this used to be all great big willows. And that's the stuff that the guys concentrated on removing. That was kind of the seed source. Okay, so now we'll shift gears and talk about this year's projects. Give anybody $1 if they know where this is. I guarantee most of you fished it too. Nothing? It's Gilbert Creek. So first project of the year is going to be North Branch Wilson Creek, which we've already started. I'll get to that, and I'm going to call that the Lower Manhorn easement. Oh, I already did it. So then the second one is going to be Plum Creek, the Von Holten easement. And then we're going to do the South Fork. We're going to install 19 Euro structures. And then we're going to finish at the North Branch of Wilson on the stall easement. I won't go into great detail, but you'll see there's two projects on the North Branch of Wilson. And you're probably wondering, like, why are we spending so much time there? Why are we doing work? There's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff going on with permitting, H&H studies, and right now Dunn County's on our side, so we're kind of spending a lot of our time in Dunn County because they're allowing us to do work where other counties are not, or at least without going through a lot of red tape. Okay, first one, North Branch Wilson. This site is located just north of Knapp, or this is Knapp here. I think it's like 790th in between Highway O and Highway Q. This is a ditched section. It was ditched in the 50s. Okay. And we're going to partner with NRCS on this. So NRCS did the whole design, engineering. It's pretty neat. It's an extremely wet site. It was full of beavers a few years ago. We were able to go in and remove it. We removed the last one last year. We decided with the blessing of Kasey to go in there and do some work in the wintertime just because of how wet it is. This section here is the actual ditch that's on our easement. This is the lower part that we're concentrating on now. What the plan is to create a north stream channel and then bring it back in and then create a south channel. And then we're trying to establish that riffle pool sequence. And while doing the work, we're going to take this dig section of 2,766 feet and it's going to end up being just under 3,800 feet. A few of the habitat features that we're going to put in are the root wads, cross veins, log spurs, double wing deflectors, and bank boulders. Okay? Yes? No. So the question was that we've had differences in ideas and theories on how to do things with NRCS in the past, and the question was, has that been resolved? No, and that's why we're not partnering with them a lot. This is an outside, so we're allowing them to engineer everything because it's a ditch section. We're going to create everything new, and I was okay with them saying this is what you guys need to do because we've never really done anything like this. And so we're able to get cost share through them. If we would partner with them on a typical habitat project, they wouldn't allow us to they wouldn't let us rock both sides. They wouldn't allow us to narrow it up. There's a lot of things that they're still not on the same side as we are. Who is NRCS was the question, and it's Natural Resources Conservation Service. It's a federal government department, and each county has their own conservationists. Yes. Kasey's shaking her head yes. Sweet, I got it right. Yeah, so she said 100% brook trout, no browns. So if you're unfamiliar with what Tom asked too, so when I say this is a cost share project with NRCS, what they do is they come up with the design, um, and then so they work with the landowner, and then we work with the landowner, and basically the landowner is the middleman, and the DNR is a contractor, and the NRCS is the payee, and as long as we do what they design, they pay us a percentage, so like 70%. So the cost is $100,000, they're gonna pay us 70,000, and we'd have to throw in the other 30,000. So back in the early 2000s, it was a really good partnership, because they care about erosion, we care about fish and erosion, and we were able to do a lot of work because of it, using federal and state funds. But they moved in a different direction, and so have we. So this is really scrambled, but it's kind of the whole design. So as you can see, this is the ditch section, so it's straight, and then so NRCS says, okay, we're gonna put a ditch plug in here, so we're gonna rip wrap here to protect that bank, and then we're gonna dig this channel out all through here, and the key is to get sinuosity. Sinuosity is that the bend riffle pool to get it more back and forth, not straight. And so they wanted more of the sinuosity, and then we're going to bring it back into the channel, and then here's the new channel that comes out in here. And these are all like habitat features, but it was pretty cool how they designed it and how they came up with what they did. Okay, so as you can see, next one please. The existing ditch was just under 14 feet. Just under 12 feet, sorry. And then the banks, it was just over 16 feet. What we're gonna do is we're gonna narrow the stream up, but then we're gonna flatten out the banks. So we're gonna allow that stream to get up out of its banks into the floodplain, but we're gonna narrow it up and then to hopefully flush out a lot of that sand and silt. So we're not gonna be able to back up water. We're not gonna, the water surface isn't gonna change because we're sloping it back. So we're gonna actually make the stream, 8 feet wide instead of 12, but then we're gonna have a 30-foot wide, floodplain up here, bank elevation. And this is all mathematical stuff, so if it screws up, it's their fault, not mine. So it's kind of nice. Somewhat. We like to say that. We had some parameters with the landowner and the adjacent landowner. He had a pasture, had some, horses. So it's not exactly, but it's pretty close. Perfect. And yes, and the question was, are we putting it back into the original channel? And we are somewhat. This is a 66-foot wide easement, and easements are 66 wide from the stream, wherever the stream is. So we obviously have to have a landowner on board, and Bill Manwarin's an excellent person. He wants to do what's great for the land. But so we were able to move the stream, and then that easement actually follows the stream. Okay? And so the neighbor also has his own drone, so he was able to take some pictures. I wish I would have known this. I would have had a little bit more before and after, but he beats my befores and afters pictures. So this is not the ditch section. It's our trail going along there. Here's the main channel, and you can see this is where it was, but this is the new channel. So we went in there this winter when the ground was froze, but not super froze, and we were able to dig out the channel. And we didn't cut it. We started downstream end, and we worked our way up, cutting the channel. And then once we got it all dug out, then we cut it to open the stream up to the new channel. And the reason why we did it in the wintertime is because there's probably no way we're able to get and do that with the conditions. We're hoping that it'll be super dry this this summer, that late July, early August, and we can get in there and install the habitat. But most of the grading is done. The rock is on site. All we have to do is kind of grade some more and put some rock and some habitat in. And we're not going to rock much at all other than where we put the habitat. Okay, here's just another view. So yeah, here's the ditch section. Here's where it was. And we created this new channel, and then all of this fill that when we dug out this new channel, we pushed into the old channel. So that was part of the engineered design is this is gonna be a foot higher than everything else. Plus this is the plug, so we're gonna actually rip wrap this, rock this, and before it'll top this, it'll go out here to prevent that. And actually this was really low, so we had to build this up as well, so it wouldn't want to cut through here as well. I would have rocked for surely like a lot of this to prevent that, but they feel confident that it's going to lose its velocity as it gets outside the tank. And then here's just a quick video. Hopefully it's up and down. Just trying to get it. Can you hit it again? As you can see, like Randy asked about the original, you can probably kind of see how the original is out here, but he didn't want to lose this pasture. But you can kind of see even on the aerials how the original is probably out there somewhere. And then there is a spring coming in from up here that we actually dug and re-entered it into the main channel down here, so we didn't have to deal with it during our project, crossing it and getting rock down there. As in the watershed? So the question is where is this project in the watershed? And this is pretty much in the upper part, and it's actually all protected. It's all fee land upstream of this. I'm not sure how much farther it goes up, but I would call this the headwaters, correct? Does it? So maybe in the middle? So for the online people, she said that this is closer to the lower. I was wrong. Okay, next. Or is this the same one? We get it. You can skip to the next one. So then the next project that we will do, actually we just kind of started this week, removing some stumps. So the plan is we did that, completed what we could, ran out of time, it warmed up, and now we're hoping to go back this summer and install the habitat work, and we'll be completed this year. And then the next project, actually our first full field season project, will be the Von Holt easement, which is just upstream, or it's upstream of our project from last year on Martins. There are a few landowners in between. But we hauled in 7,500 tons of rock, and again, as you can see, it's kind of getting a little bit higher, but it's still way cheaper than anywhere around here. This project's nice and long. It's going to be 4,400 feet, and we call this a more typical habitat project, knowing that it's going to be mostly brown trout, so we'll nail it up, flush out that sand and silt and create freeze keeper pools, still use root wads, Euros, rock bee weirs, and midstream boulders. Okay. So just a little bit befores and afters, or befores, but this is the easement, 4,400 feet, like I said. There's a grass waterway that is the walk-in access for the public, right off Highway U. So right down here would be the Martin project that we just completed, just a few landowners in between. There are some pretty high eroding banks. I would say there's 3 or 4 that are pushing 15, 20 feet high. And there's really no habitat. Okay. So as as you can see, you know, it's got some good sinuosity. Um, so we're just going to narrow it up a little bit, you know, not crazy, but, you know, protect these points, put in the habitat on the outside and rock that to protect that, and then slope these banks. Allow it to get to its floodplain. Just a few more box elders. You guys get the whole kind of gist of everything. Okay. So then we're gonna spend at least probably just a week at the South Fork of the Kinney this summer, and we're gonna rent a skid steer with a pecan mower. It's basically just like a brush hog or a heavy-duty mower that's for woody vegetation, and we're gonna mow the entire site. Then we're gonna install 18 Euro structures with the help of Lauren and crew, and then best case scenario, I think the maintenance committee is still discussing this, but according to For Control, the experts in woody vegetation control, or they recommend spraying the whole site again. I'm really not sure. I haven't seen what's live, what's dead out there, but that's what they recommended, is to mow it all down. It would have been best to burn it. Obviously, that's not an option. We don't have the manpower or people willing to do it, so we're going to mow it. That was the next best thing, and then spray the whole works. And hopefully then we're on top of it. Okay, and then the final project doesn't show up on here, but this is the area that I just discussed, the Van Warren project, and this is the stall easement just downstream of Highway O. Actually, so it's 1,800 feet. The first part, the upstream part, is an old pasture, which we'll spend most of our time on, really doing the whole thing on that. And then the downstream part goes through some tag alder sections. We'll just remove some of the tag alders that we need to get in there to protect the banks, add some habitat, but we won't be tearing a whole bunch of work up. And you know, the reason for also working on North Branch of Wilson is taking the fishing pressure off, like the Dalkeys and the Klingmans and Gilbert Creek. So the more projects we can get done in this area, hopefully the less pressure we'll see on some of these projects. I had just a few befores. Not a lot to see. It'll be a good project. Okay, you can flip through these, get through there. So then our mowing projects for this year, the reason we mow is we mow every 4 years. Once a habitat project's been completed, and that it helps to cut down on the woody vegetation. And we've learned that this is a very important part of habitat projects. We can't just do projects and walk away. I think I used this example last year, but it needs to be repeated. I did a project in early 2000 on Katy Creek, and 20 years later, your chapter spent many hours brushing to remove the box elders again. So we learned our lesson that we can't do these projects and walk away. We either have to mow, you know, cut, whatever, but, and right now we're paying a contractor to mow. Okay. Mowing sites this year are Parker Creek, so just upstream of the project that we discussed on Dave Phillips's in the orange, upstream of Pleasant Avenue. Probably won't be a lot in here, but then also Dave Phillips's. Next one. Dave Phillips is here, both sides of Highway J. And we're also going to do Pine Creek by Maiden Rock. And keep going. Dale Dalkeys on Wilson, just north of Knapp. And the Miller Calder easement on Gilbert Creek. So this is the triangle piece. This is the section that we did last on Gilbert, so this is the middle section. This will be the first year mowing this site. Next, I screwed up. I should have made this my first slide because it's very important. Really, I appreciate it a lot. We appreciate it. You guys are rock stars. I always say this, but don't take it for granted. The stuff that you guys do blows everybody out of the water across the state. Really helps us accomplish more habitat work. You know, with the brushing, the mulching, the tree planting. I mean, it's crazy what you guys do, but it doesn't go unseen. We really appreciate the hard work that everybody puts in. Is there a question back there? Yes, thank you. So the question is what time of the year do we do mowing? And that's usually right around the end of June. We can't do it earlier because of the nesting songbirds, and we want to do it earlier so things don't get seeded out as bad. Why is that? That was the federal recommendations is mid to or late June, early July is the beginning of the songbird. The time frame of which we can mow. But I can, if you wait longer, everything is seeded out too, and then you're just spreading it around. So it's a small little window of actually being productive. Pretty much. So wildlife does all the mowing or all the burning across the state. They have their fire bosses, they have their crews, and in the past they were able to do some of our fisheries properties because the biologists would put in their recommendations. But it seems like the last, I don't know how many years, at least 5 years, the window of fire, timeline is very small because of the conditions. And they weren't getting their stuff done, let alone they weren't going to burn our stuff. So it's the low man on totem pole type thing. And we've looked at, we've reached out to many different, people, and we've buried that hatchet. We tried to burn. We know it's best, but it just you can't find people to do it. Yes. I missed that first part. If if an organization would come along and would be burning, would we partner with them? Absolutely. We'd be all on board. Okay, I'll just hit a few state budget things that I think are important for your chapter to know. Oh, they're already up there. One of the primary funding sources for the Fisheries Management Program is the Fish and Wildlife Count, and that comes from hunting, fishing, and trapping license. The other major funding source is a federal sport fish restoration grant. So most hunting and fishing licenses have not increased since 2005. And since 2006, the Fisheries Management Program has seen a 23% reduction in positions, which equals 59 full-time staff. And during the past 20 years, the cumulative rate of inflation is about 60%, which has reduced our ability to pay for the work we do, as well as fund positions to complete that work. So to put that in perspective, go to the next one. A typical trout habitat project costs approximately $82,000 in 2006. Now that same project costs $190,000, which is a 132% increase. Just some examples of them. Habitat projects, like we kind of talked about with the rock, is rock riprap has increased 364%. Seeding mulching 463% since 2006. The cost of population surveys, creel surveys, and limited term employees' salaries have also increased by 100%, and raising fish has also become challenging with cost increases in almost all areas of rearing. One of the major cost increases is in the feed. Dry feed has increased $114,000 to $396,000 for the trout starter diet. Live minnows have also increased at around 254%. For an example, going from $9 a gallon in 2005, sorry, that's a misprint, to 37 gallons in 2023. Okay. The Fisheries Management Program has taken a number of actions to address these funding challenges, which would such as static income and above average inflation operational costs to remain within budget. This equates to 20% reduction in work planned activities across the program. These actions include but are not limited to reduction in cold and warm water habitat management, reductions in stocking, including walleye, muskie, and inland trout, reductions in monitoring, including population assessments and creel surveys, and reductions in hiring LT staff, approximately 20 positions reduction in FY 25, and reductions in overhead administrative costs, including in-person meetings, IT costs, staff trainings, and equipment purchases. Yes. That's a good question. Well, other than the hunting and fishing license hasn't increased. I mean, that's the major funding source is everything's increasing except for the money coming in. Yes. Excellent news. Sounds like that's kind of like what Minnesota does, right? Very true. So the, so the governor has also proposed renewing the Knowles Nelson Stewardship Program at $1 million per year for the next 10 years to increase outdoor recreation opportunities and expand access to public lands for hunting, trapping, and fishing. The state budget setting process is underway now, and you all have an opportunity to provide your feedback to the Joint Finance Committee and your respective legislators as they work to develop the next state budget. And just to give you a little idea of what it's going to be like in FY 24. So when I say FY 24, that is July 1 of 2024 to June 30th, 2025. We spent $412,000 in that time frame. I had the work plan for FY 26 and I got $181,000. So, oh, it didn't have my charge. I put a charge in there. And there it is. It was moving, but okay. So new easements. Waiting. South Fork of the Kinney, headwaters of Gilbert Creek, and 3 in the Kinney. Been in there since last fall. It's not getting any better. I know Tom and crew put some pressure on some people, and it started to work, but it's back to how it was. The one easement that we did get was the trainer easement on Gilbert Creek. So if you're familiar, this is the triangle piece. This is the project that we did a couple years ago, and this is the new easement part. So it's the very headwaters of Gilbert Creek. It's got the springs. It's a pretty cool little area. We're not planning on doing any habitat work just because it's brook trout spawning. We don't want to screw it up. Kasey says we can't screw it up, so but we might like put some goats or something in there to reduce the box elders and wooded vegetation and maybe get some grass growing to get those banks more established. But with that, that is it. Finally get to hear the fish numbers. Kasey, do you want this up here? Any questions? Yes. Little bit of everything. We both are able to get easements. The way I get easements is they see a project that we're working on, and it's an adjacent landowner or somebody that lives downstream, and they'll stop and be like, hey, what's going on here? So we explain the process. But basically what that is the state buys 3 rights. It's for public fishing, and it's just for public fishing. It doesn't allow for hunting or trapping. We buy the vegetation management rights, so we have the choice of going in there and planting trees or cutting trees, and then we also have the right to go and do a habitat project. So then the state pays a 1 lump sum to these landowners if they're willing to. So basically, we'll give them a value, and then they have the choice of, yes, I'll accept that value in a 1 lump sum, or they can decline it. So that's, and then Kasey sometimes sends out flyers and letters in areas that she wants to concentrate on. But yeah, and usually it kind of a snowball effect, like Plum Creek, these Wilson. If you start a project, people are like, hey, I kind of like that, and that's how it gets going in some of these areas. Perpetual, forever. And for the state, for us to do habitat work, we have to have perpetual public access. Yep. Very good, thanks. No? Question?
Alright. Hopefully that's working. Okay. Can you guys hear me? Cool. Okay. We're all ready to go. Alright. So yeah, I'm Kasey Yallaly. For those of you that don't know me, I've been here for about 7 years now. I'm going to talk about several different topics today, kind of bump from one to the other. So I'm going to take questions after each topic, if that works for you guys, and then, questions at the end, or if there's any on the chat too online. So several things I'm going to talk about. First, I'm going to update you guys on our trout stream sampling that we did last year in 2024. So I'll mainly focus on the bigger rivers, so the Rush-the-Kinney, the O'Galley, and the Willow. I did not bring the spreadsheets that I normally bring. They are posted online. If you need a link to where to find them, let me know, and I can always send them to you too, but they're longer now. They're a different format, so I didn't want to print out like 500 pages of paper. And if you do need a hard copy, I can mail you one for sure. So just get a hold of me or check online, because it is online now. So I'm also going to talk about the Plum Creek Von Holtum project, just give an update on how customers are doing there. So that's the original Von Holtum easement located downstream of the project that Nate just mentioned. I'm also going to talk about the Willow River, the status of that with our trout sampling, and then the trout regulation change for Pierce County and the Kinney watershed that I just included on the spring hearings a couple weeks ago. We haven't got the results of the spring hearings yet, so I don't know if it passed or not yet. I hope it did. Everybody seems to be supportive. So I'll touch on that. And then last year we did Wilson and Gilbert Creek watershed surveys. So I'll just get into a little bit of that. And then the future, so 2025 sampling will be on the Trimble and the Big River watersheds, and then touch on tree planting. Before I get into anything else, I just want to say, Nate mentioned it too, Randy and the brushing crew, you guys are rock stars, literally, throughout the state, you guys are the most active chapter in getting all of your volunteers out there, getting these brushing days done. So brushing does so much. The main 3 things, you're taking care of invasive species. So you're allowing native species to come back and establish. You're controlling bank erosion. So by getting rid of these invasive species, they have poor root structure, or they take over, they don't allow good vegetation to grow on the ground. Taking those out, the box elders, buckthorn, honeysuckle, that lets beneficial native vegetation become established, and you're also maintaining fishability. So a lot of things get accomplished with those brush and work days. I really appreciate you guys being out there and doing that, because it's fun to do, as you all know. And then secondly, I want to thank Suzanne and anybody else who contributed to the internship program. but I know she kind of ramrodded this through, and it is so beneficial to us. So we have an intern that's going to work with us this summer. We had one last summer that you guys helped fund. I don't have Brian, my technician, anymore. Hopefully we get his position filled. We haven't yet. So without this intern, we would be really short-handed. So I really appreciate it. It's going to be a good opportunity for him too. He'll learn a lot. So very thankful for you guys. So just want to say that before I forget. And we can go to the next slide. So my crew, I just want to thank them. I know a lot of you guys know Dustin, Dustin Schur. This is him in his natural habitat, surveying streams. Sam Jacobson, my other LTE, they're rock stars. I mean, they're just awesome. They're gung-ho, they love their job, hard workers. We also had Mason last year, the intern that you guys helped fund. So he was with us throughout the field season for 2024 as well. Next slide. So the first stream I'm going to touch on is the Rush. So as you guys know, we survey 3 sites annually on the Rush, one up at 29, one at Stonehammer, one at Vino. Vino's the lowest one. Vino and Stonehammer, we get the volunteers to help, so some of you have been with us when we're sampling these. But I've got a couple graphs up here. These are my normal graphs that I show to you guys every year. So basically you can see, so I've got number of fish per mile, and then the year going all the way back to the year 2000. 2024 up here. So this is total fish per mile. Oh, there's supposed to be a gray line on there that's not showing up. Anyways, total fish per mile, young of year is blue, and adults only is the orange line here. So you can see it was an average year. We had very average densities of basically all age size classes. They were lower compared to the last years, as you guys can see, but average, the long-term average, we were right there. However, densities of large fish were up. So if you guys look at the right graph, this line represents the number of fish over 12 inches per mile, and we're on an upward trend for 2024. So this, I mean, that is very high. That's like over 800 fish per mile. That's like 100th percentile when you compare that to class 1 driftless brown trout streams. So very high densities of fish over 12 inches. So great size structure out there. Relatively speaking, we still have tons and tons of fish less than 12 inches, but those larger fish, they were in high densities last year. Go to the next slide. Going upstream to Stonehammer. Average densities here too, higher than at Vino, which is typical. Very high densities of trout at Stonehammer compared to other areas of the river. Average levels here at this site as well when you compare it to the long-term average. So this gray line on this graph represents the 90th percentile for total trout. So our total trout per mile is this black line. And you can see most years we are way over the 90th percentile. So just very, very high densities at this site. Size structure here in terms of fish over 12 inches, you can see it was pretty average here if you look at the long term. Which it's still high. I mean, it's still 95th percentile for fish over 12 inches, but for this site, it's average. And it was about 350 fish per mile over 12 inches. So go to the next slide. And I just threw in a bunch of pictures because we have volunteers, which we really appreciate. It's a good, fun day. Just a bunch of pictures here so you guys will see some nice fish that we got this past year. You can click to the next one. And just some more volunteer pictures. It's a busy day. It's a chaotic day. But if you guys haven't participated, it is really fun. We usually do 2 sites per day. We'll do the Rush one day, we'll do the Kinney one day, and then we'll do the O'Galley and the Willow another day. Click to the next one. Yeah, just more Sam. This is all in Vino. We have a big crew. It takes a lot of people to do these larger rivers. We have to cover the width of the river with our electrofishing gear, which is why it takes so many people for these larger streams. And then the next one, moving on to the Kinney. Well, first of all, did anybody have any questions about the Rush before I move on to the other streams? Everybody good? All first one's at Highway 3565, right at the Aldi's parking lot is where we start. We go up to Quarry Road. The parking lot there is where we end. So here we had average densities here as well. When you compare to the long-term average at this site, you can kind of see that high densities overall. This site has very, very high densities consistently of all size classes, especially of the smaller fish less than 12 inches. So high, if you look at this axis, I mean, these are very high numbers. This site averages 5,000 trout per mile total. Every year, it's pretty consistent. I mean, there's obviously some fluctuating, but very high densities. So average here for all size classes, this side of the graph. So this is fish per mile over 12 inches again, and you can see we're high here. It's higher than it has been for a very long time. So size structure in terms of those fish, those larger fish over 12, it has improved. I don't expect it to stay this way. We had some very high year class or very, very big year classes in 2020 and 2021. And those fish are starting to show up over 12 inches and even bigger. So 75th percentile here. You got to keep in mind this axis is different. So right now it was just over 100 per mile for those fish when you compare that, to the rush where it was 800 fish over 12 inches per mile. And then the next one is at Glen Park. So downstream of the dams. Here we had average densities also when you compare it to the long-term average, but after the dam failed and it was notched, we did see a pretty drastic decline in densities of all size classes here. You can see that in 2019 we had very low densities. And starting 2024, they are starting to climb back up, it looks like. On the flip side of that, though, with those low densities, we got a pretty big increase in larger fish, which is very typical. There were less fish out there. They were able to eat more. They didn't have to compete with all of these other trout for those resources, so they were able to grow larger faster, basically. So we had a pretty good increase in size structure for these past several years here, which is good to see. And it's at above the 95th percentile for fish over 12 inches. So a lot of really nice fish coming out of there as well. And then I've just threw in some pictures, again, from the Kinney, some nice heavy fish. You can kind of flip through them. All of the crew. We pull in crews from Black River, from Eau Claire, sometimes La Crosse to get these surveys done. So sometimes people are traveling pretty far to help us get these surveys done. Moving on to the Ogallie, a little bit less heavily fished than the Rush and the Kinney. That's probably an understatement. But I started a new trend site here in 2022. We surveyed it in 2019 from our rotation survey. But you guys can see prior to that, we had a pretty big increase in densities of all size classes of fish here. The gray line is fish over 12. It is a pretty significant increase if that were the only line on this graph. But all size classes, we've seen a big increase for the past several years in the Ogallie. It's doing really well. When you look at fish over 12 inches, they're in the 90th percentile for class 2 streams. The Ogallie is a class 2. And when you compare it to class 1 streams, it's still in the 85th percentile for those larger fish, densities of larger fish. So it's looking really, really good. If you haven't fished the Ogallie, I highly recommend it. Very different experience than the Rush or the Kinney. It looks totally different, but it's big water, and you can find some nice fish. So we've had a lot more brown trout natural reproduction in the Ogallie in these recent years. I have not stocked the Ogallie with brown trout since 2020. So even without the stocking, we're seeing increased levels of natural reproduction in the Ogallie. So it's good and it's bad, because if you look at Katy, which is in the Ogallie River watershed, we're having problems with brown trout. This is working against us because brown trout are doing so well, but it's providing a good fishery in the Ogallie. So yeah, Randy, you have a question? It's right in the town of Elmwood at County P. Public street. We go upstream. can see there's a big gap in sampling. So we didn't sample this site from 2007 to 2019. So if we had all those years, it would be much more gradual. It wouldn't look so drastic. But just improvements in the watershed. Water's gotten colder. We have more spring influence. Land use practices. More CRP. No-till. All of that. Improvements in water quality and land use. I think it's done a lot to improve water quality and temperature. So we've seen that in a lot of streams across the driftless. They've improved, over the last couple decades. Heads over heels improvement. So in the Yallaly, that's definitely what happened here. We haven't done a ton of habitat work. We have a couple easements on the Yallaly. I'm working on getting a couple more. I just got one yesterday at this site, and we'll probably do a project here in the near future. So it's looking really good. It's a nice stream if you want to get away from some of the crowds in western Pierce County. Yeah, Tom. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but it's taken a long time. Our real estate program has had vacancies, and I'm told that those vacancies are what's slowing things down. They did hire someone to do valuations. That person left in a week, and now they have another vacancy. So I guess there's just too few people trying to get these things done. So it's taken probably, I had one in the process for almost 2 years for me to get a value. So it's just really frustrating. Right, to fill those vacancies potentially, that would help. Yeah. Not that I'm aware of. I haven't asked. Yeah, it's a tough one. I've been getting a couple easements through. I'm being really patient, and I guess it takes as long as it takes. But yeah, some improvement, and that would be great. Yes. Yep. That's all the stewardship funding from the Knowles Nelson. So yeah, there's a ton of funding out there to purchase the easements. Yeah. So moving on. Unless anybody has any more questions about the Kinney or anything else. Yeah, any questions? So there's so much siltation. So our site starts at like where Rocky Branch comes in, and we go upstream about 500 meters, and that section was just hugely impacted by siltation. It still is. It seems to be getting, if we do have a big rain event, it'll flush a lot of that out. But most sampling years, it's for the upper part of our station. It's just been heavily impacted with fine sediment from that. Yeah. Yeah, good question. I'm not repeating the question. Sorry, folks online. I will get better at that. So I'm moving on to Plum Creek. So this is a Von Holden project. I just wanted to give you a quick rundown if you guys aren't remember. I mean, it's been a long time since I've talked about this, but this was a huge project, 10,000 feet, completed in 2019 to 2020. Downstream of County U, it's about 3 miles south of Plum City. Big project. If you're driving south on U, you can't miss it. There's a parking lot right off of U. We divided this section into 3 subsections, so approximately 3,300 feet per section, and we did different types of trout habitat work in each section because we wanted to evaluate if we could maintain or increase the brook trout population that was there, and then we also wanted to evaluate overall trout response to these 3 different habitat types. So prior to the project, brook and brown trout were present. It was 30% brook trout and about 70% 70% brown trout that were present here. Next slide. So Plum Creek, we do have a trend site that we monitor every year that's up by Plum City where we did not do any habitat work. So we can kind of compare where we've done work and where we haven't done work. So if you look at this site, it's now dominated by brown trout as well. Brown trout are the orange line, which is the upper line. Is kind of hard to distinguish the colors. The green line is brook trout. So you can see in about 2011, the densities of brook trout started to really decline and drop off. Brown trout increased, fluctuated a little bit, and now they're the dominant species. So we have dominant brown trout basically everywhere else in the watershed downstream of Plum City. So it's not just at Von Holtham's that we have dominant brown trout there as well. Next slide. So just to give you guys some a frame of mind with the brook and the brown trout, we did a watershed survey in 2023. I know I'm throwing a lot of numbers at you, and I'm trying to wrap up quickly because I don't want to keep you guys here too long. But brook trout are on the left, trout per mile, brown trout on the right graph. And all these different colored dots, you don't have to worry about them, but they just represent a different station or a different location on Plum Creek that we surveyed. So if you look at the overall trend back from 1999, you can see brook trout have basically declined. You know, they're on a downward trend. Brown trout have kind of done the opposite, just increased there slightly if you just look at the overall curve of where those dots lie. Next slide. So this is at the Von Holtham site. So I've got pre-monitoring data that occurred in 2018-19 before the project started. That's blue. The blue line here, if you're looking at brown trout. And then these upper, middle, lower sections. So if you guys have fished it, you're familiar, but I can kind of give you a rundown of how these stations are different. But we saw a huge spike in brown trout densities after the project in all stations. We're kind of seeing a decline in brown trout at all stations, you know, in 2024. We're still well over double what we were prior to the project, but we are seeing this decrease. And I think that's due to just natural, like everything is just stabilizing. It takes it 5 or 6 years to kind of stabilize after a project is done. I think we're gonna probably stay around this level. This is catch rates of brook trout. If you move over here, pre-catch rates of brook trout, and these are post in the 3 different sections. So we had a huge increase in this middle section. The middle section is influenced by Brunner Valley Creek. It's a little tributary, pretty much 100% brook trout. So brook trout come out and we'll use the main stem of Plum Creek from that tributary. So that's why we see a lot of brook trout in this middle section. And then the lower section, which is basically more typical project. So the lower section was very narrow. They narrowed it up a lot. There's a lot of run habitat. It's very deep. It's more of adult brown trout habitat. It's more of what they prefer. So we can see, we did see some, I don't know if I did that. We did see some brook trout in there that first year, and now they're basically, they're not completely gone, but they're at very low levels. They don't do well competing with brown trout in that type of habitat. And that's what we see here. The middle section is the gray line. They've kind of dropped off. The middle section, we kept it wider and not as much habitat. We varied the width a lot to create more diverse habitat. And they are a little bit higher than the pre-levels, but they haven't declined to below pre-levels, which is great because normally when we do these projects, brook trout just go down, brown trout increase, and we don't see brook trout really come back from that. So I think this is a positive. We didn't decrease brook trout densities basically in 2 of these sections. So I think we were able to learn a lot from this and a lot from our watershed survey as well. So some good news there, you know, from what we learned using these 3 different habitat techniques here. Does anybody have questions about that? I kind of ran through that. So basically, we can use, you know, what we learned from here to inform us how we should do projects on other reaches of the stream or on other streams if we want to benefit brook trout or brown trout, and what the size classes that we want to target. on Trout Brook Road on the Willow. We survey that every year. Just looking at brown trout here so there's a ton of stocking that goes on in the Willow, especially in this area. We stock it with large fingerling brown trout that go in the fall. We stock it with broodstock size brown trout and rainbow broodstock as well. So those broodstock go in at an average of 18 inches. If anybody hasn't fished here, I recommend it. It's a lot of fun. There's some really nice fish in there. They do overwinter, despite what a lot of people think. So they do survive the winter. But basically, if you just look at brown trout here, this graph goes back to 2001. So you can kind of see the trend throughout the years. So the 90th percentile for total fish per mile for class 2 streams in this ecoregion is that gray line that's horizontal. So you can see for the past several years, since 2018, our total trout densities have been higher than the 90th percentile. And these last couple years, we saw pretty big increases in natural reproduction. So the blue line is young of year for fish per mile, and that's on an upward trend. If you look back, we haven't seen the densities of young of year fish per mile since back around 2008, 2009. And back then, they were stocked as small fingerlings. So those densities here are due to stock fish. We don't stock small fingerlings anymore. We only do large. So anything we get in the summer that's less than 5.5 inches, those are all natural. So it's doing really well. The fishery's doing well. And then as far as big fish, not including rainbows, fish larger than 12 inches were in the 75th percentile for tetracre density. So the lower willow is looking really good. Just wanted to give you guys an update on that. Definitely take advantage of those broodstock that we put in there. So this is at Trout Brook Road. So anything below the state park, the dam state park, is what I call the lower. Yeah. So I think average that goes in there is a couple hundred. Yeah, a couple hundred of browns and rainbows. So total, 400 or 500 fish go in there. So yeah. Yep, it's just on the race. Yep. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So the question was there natural reproduction in the race? And yes, last year, so the past several years, all of this on this blue line is young of year fish per mile. So since about 2018, I believe that's when we started or stopped putting small fingerlings in. That all of that is natural reproduction. So this last year, I believe it was at 600 or 700 young of year per mile for brown trout. So it looked great for natural reproduction. Right. I know Ken sent me a bunch of his data, and he's kind of seen the opposite. So the main branch is colder, right? Can't correct me if I'm wrong. The main branch is colder. The race branch is getting warmer. But there's still fish there. I mean, it is, from what Kent's data has shown, it is getting towards dangerous levels. At some point in the summers, we have really warm temperatures, really warm air temp. But the trout, we even got a couple brook trout in there this year. I was very surprised to see. But the trout are doing well. I think a lot, I'll just add that and then I'll get back to you. A lot of that has to do with the natural production. So the dam, the water column that we're drawing from at the dam is allowing warmer water in the winter to come through, which I think is helping incubation and keeping those water temps pretty stable in the winter too. So. No, I want to. I hope to do that this year. I hope to fit it in. It's really tough to, like I mentioned, it takes 12 people to survey these sites, and at least 8 of those have to be DNR people to shock, and it's really hard to get people from everywhere else in the state to help us do these surveys. So it would be an extra day that I'd have to ask people to. It's just difficult to do that, but I would really like to do that this year just to compare what's going on there with the fish. So, yeah. Any other questions on the willow? Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah, so the question was, Scott has been hearing a lot of good things about the O'Galley. Have I thought about brown trout removal, right, on the O'Galley? So, yes, I would love to do it. Um, it would require probably too much effort for us to do. Like, it's just too many miles. You have to do it every year, which is what we do in Katy. Yeah, in Katy, we're seeing great results from our brown trout removal. Brook trout are going up and up and up as we're keeping brown suppressed. There it's possible basically because of the size of the water. So we can do it with our crew. We do it in about 7 days. We shock 6 miles straight, remove all the brown trout every fall in Katy, and we're seeing great improvements in the brook trout population. I would love to do it in the whole watershed, but it would be a huge undertaking for that size of water. So for the O'Galley, I'd need 8 people. Well, I would need 10 people a day minimum, and for the at least a week for the miles. It's a long river. It would take a lot. It's hard. So brown trout outcompete brook trout. Basically for everything. We've seen huge declines in brook trout and huge increases in brown trout. It historically was. Um, of the lower reservoir, and it's so above Spring Valley Reservoir, it's completely brook trout. But historically, the entire watershed was brook trout. So when we surveyed the O'Galley watershed, or not the watershed, the O'Galley River in 2019, we found brook trout at every station we went to, all the way down to County D, which is above, O'Galley, like Lake O'Galley, down in the town of O'Galley. So brook trout are throughout still, but all of our brown trout from that we get in Katy that we remove every fall, that's O'Galley fish coming up into Katy to spawn. So, yeah, we're trying to figure out a device, or we have a weir that we're trying to block movement in the fall from fish coming from the O'Galley into Katy. It doesn't work well. It's really hard to maintain. We just haven't figured out something to block movement yet, but we are seeing good results with the brook we've been keeping. So yeah, your question. Oh, so follow-up question: is Katy Creek a brook trout reserve? Yes. Oh, Upper O'Galley? Yes, it is, including Lousy Creek is a brook trout reserve stream. Yeah, it's right. Yeah, so that kind of goes along with what Scott asked about it being a brook trout reserve stream. So the O'Galley main stem itself is not within our brook trout reserve program. So we don't anticipate brook trout surviving into the future in the main stem of the O'Galley, but the tributaries to it are, including Katy. So that's kind of the crux or the problem with that is we have this great naturally reproducing brown trout population now, and it's just bleeding into the tributaries where brook trout can have the potential to remain into the future under a warming climate. So it's hard, but great question. Yeah. Yeah. Right. We I kind of we're collaborating with the Habitat team, and Nate and I have tasked his crew with coming up with a design that would work. So we're open to trying things. Yeah, it's really hard. With the leaf, so it coincides with leaf fall. That's our biggest problem with our current weir, is it takes cleaning off several times a day, or else it's gonna get washed away because all the leaves just pile up on it. So that's the biggest thing. Otherwise, it would work. It blocks movement. We haven't caught any fish in it, but it does block movement if the water is allowed to pass through without getting caught up with the leaves. Yeah, Randy. Yeah, potentially. Yeah, Nate and his crew, they're gonna try to come up with a better design, something similar to our weir, but it's still gonna need cleaned off. So I mean, that's definitely something that we could use some help with. We've been doing it twice a day, which is not enough. Um, yeah, it's insane, and it's right at the time when leaves are falling, when it needs to be in there, when the trout are migrating up. So it's hard, but we'll let you know if what we come up with. If hopefully we come up with something. But yeah, I appreciate the offer to help, and I will definitely take you up on that if we figure something out. Um, so yeah, any other questions? Good questions. They go back down pretty quick. There's not for that many fish. There's not enough overwintering habitat, so they do go back down into the valley. Yep. Yep. Exactly. Yeah. So it's been a struggle. I mean, it's doable in Katy, but we've got to block them somehow for the long term, anyways. Um, so moving on, just mentioning my trout regulation changes. These were on the spring hearings. I've talked to you guys about, so I know you guys are familiar. Talked to you several times about this, but hopefully, if it's past the spring hearings, Pierce County and the Kinney watershed will change from its current regulation to a 5-fish bag limit, and you can keep 1/12. That would go into effect fishing opener 2026. There was an April opener question, if any of you guys looked at the spring hearing questions. So to open the trout harvest season to the first Saturday in April rather than the first Saturday in May, which would help things a lot with if harvest increases because of that. That would help with decreasing the densities of these very abundant small fish. So hopefully that passed too. If it did, also in 2026, it would go into effect. Yeah, like I mentioned, it would help with these high density brown trout populations. The size structure is heavily skewed towards small fish. So get out there and keep brown trout, especially small ones, which is hard to convince people to do. So moving on to Wilson and Gilbert Creek watershed. Nate talked a lot about the North Branch of Wilson. I'll mention it here too. We did these surveys. This is a map, a horrible map, but the watershed is located here, just west of Menominee. Here we are, over in River Falls, right there. So just east of us. Western Dunn County, Wilson Creek, it's dominated by brook trout. Brown trout are present in the headwaters, which is weird. You normally don't see that. They normally like the bigger main stems, but here they're in the upper section of Wilson Creek, and it's based on habitat. The habitat up there is more geared towards brown trout. It's pretty high gradient, very rocky, and the brown trout really like it up there. So we have been seeing increases of brown trout there, but everywhere else, brook trout dominant. All the tribs are 100% brook trout, really high quality tribs. North Branch of Wilson is definitely the highest quality tributary to Wilson Creek that we saw. If you don't mind bushwhacking, I highly recommend trying to fish North Branch. There's some really nice brook trout in there. It was very impressive. Gilbert Creek, moving on to that, mixed fishery. Browns and brooks are present in fairly equal densities throughout most of it. Browns are increasing in some sections of the main stem. Excellent size structure. If you guys download the spreadsheet that's online, you'll see Gilbert Creek is an outlier for really big fish. Not that I want to send more people there, but it is a really good stream for if you want to go for trophy brown trout. Really good. Brook trout, they were the star of the show in both of these watersheds, so plenty of those out there. Yeah, question about Wilson and Gilbert. We usually get tigers in Gilbert. Yeah, we get those every year. Yeah, we didn't get any in Wilson. It's usually really skewed. Like we either have like a lot of brown trout, and very few brooks. There are a lot of brooks and no brown. So, but Gilbert we get tigers and plum. Plum we always get tigers too. Yeah. Any other questions about Wilson or Gilbert? If anybody fishes Gilbert, they're probably telling me to shut up. It's really good. I'm gonna send more people there. So reclassification. So based on these surveys, that's part of what we do is we evaluate the current classification of a stream. So based on these surveys and the data we collected, several sections of Gilbert Creek are going to be reclassified to Class 1 status. So you can see on the map, everything that's blue, which is really hard to see, is Class 2 currently. And on Gilbert, that'll all be reclassified to Class 1 based on what we found. And then a couple tributaries to Wilson, including Clack, Hay Creek, which we did a project on that you guys helped with. Those will be reclassified to Class 1 as well. We also found a new tributary that was not classified. We're going to classify that to Class 3 because we did find brook trout there and they haven't been found there in the past, which is cool to see. And we're also declassifying one stream that had brook trout that we did not find them in. So some cool findings. That's just one thing that we do during these watershed surveys. And yes, brook trout live here. It's just, oh, you can go to the next slide. Brook trout live here. It's just crazy. I mean, there were brook trout in there. For anybody that thinks brook trout are little wimps, they can handle some pretty nasty, degraded stuff. This is pure reed canary. We had trouble finding the creek here. But there were brookies, which was cool to see. You can go to the next slide. So 2025, we'll be on the Trimble and the Big River quite a bit. We'll be doing the whole watershed, all the tributaries. Last time the Trimble River was surveyed on rotation was in 2014. Big River was in 2016, so it's been a while since we've surveyed the entire watershed here. So goals of these watershed surveys real quick. Acquire updated status of the health of the fishery. We get an idea of size structure, species abundance. We do IBI surveys to determine the health of the fishery as well, not just trout. Evaluate stocking regimes, evaluate current classifications, identify habitat needs. And this is in addition to the stations we survey every year that are trend sites. Tree planting. I know we're getting like late here, so I'm trying to wrap it up. Tree planting. So some of you guys helped with tree planting this year. It's super important to continue this. We're trying to focus this tree planting on our brook trout reserve streams that are going to have the potential to hold brook trout. So we're going to provide some future shading here. Also providing more diverse habitat. Achieve a savanna type habitat. So a goal is here to provide a grass understory with these large shade trees. This allows us to maintain it and it allows fishability. So we're maintaining fishability by establishing this savanna. We're getting these large seedlings. So the seedling you see in the picture, that is the same year we planted it. So we're trying to get at least 6 to 10 foot seedlings, so really large, giving them an advantage. Great survival. We've seen so far 81% survival with these seedlings. We do use tree production as well, which helps with the deer. And this year we did all of these. Next slide. All of these trees we planted. Some we're planting. I planted some more today. We're planting some more tomorrow because some came in late. But a great project and great volunteers that helped with that too. Next one is just the species that we plant. So we try to get as much diversity as we can, all native species that are adapted to these types of wet, low habitats. And that's all I got. If anybody has any questions?
The link for the spreadsheet,
Yeah.
is it possible to send that out in
Yeah, on the email, like the MailChimp.
or you could take like 25 small.
I know, that's what I'm
And then this is, you have to pick each creek or will it say Pierce County we did these and you
Yeah.
just go to those?
Yeah, so if you go online to the DNR's website, just search for Fisheries Survey Reports. That'll take you to a page and you gotta click on trout. trout surveys, and then it's by county, and then
Okay.
you can click on the county that you want. Yeah, good question. That's how you find our fisheries survey reports for the folks online. I forget to repeat the question. Anybody else questions? Kind of answered a bunch going through it, so yeah. Thank you guys. Thanks for having us.